Hi guys, my name is Ram and today we will be discussing how to design your own app. But I don't want to take the same routine that I do every time and then tell you guys blah blah blah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. First, I want to know how are you guys doing, right? It's been a lot of mess, it's been like more than a year of lockdown. A lot of people have lost their family members. A lot of people have lost their jobs. It's not been a great year so far. 2020 wasn't really amazing, and it's been very tough for me personally as well, and I'm pretty sure for a lot of you guys also, right? So I want to tell you guys, like, there's a cat at my house today, and I'm really really tempted to go and play with her, but with him. But I have to help you guys out regarding designing your app. Okay, so if you guys have any pets, please tell me what their names are in the chat, and tell me if you guys can see me, my beautiful face, and if you guys can hear me, and if you guys can see the screen properly or not. And if there's any audio disturbance, please do let me know. I can try and reduce that. Okay, so while you guys are showing me all of that, let me just open up my chat on the side so that I can view what you guys are showing me. Well, telling me. I always mess up when I'm doing multitasking. All right, so I'm opening it up on the side. And while it's opening up, I want to show you guys again about Great Learning Academy. This is a place where you can get a free certificate if you want. You can enroll for a lot of different types of courses. All you have to do is just go to greatlearning.in/academy and scroll down. And once you scroll down, you're going to see a multitude number of courses over here. Please see what course you really like and enroll for them and earn a free certificate for yourself. So you don't have to pay anything over here. This is especially for those people who have lost their jobs or cannot find their jobs. This is a good starting point for you. These are beginner level courses that will help you get a good fundamental idea. And if you're a kind of person who's kind of like me and isn't really sure about his, end goal or something, then try to dip your toes in a lot of different fields. See if you're into machine learning or data science, or if you're into software development, or if you're into cloud computing, or if you're into digital marketing or designing, whatever you want to learn about. We have courses on all of them. Please go ahead and enroll in them and see if you like them, and pick that direction for yourself and build a career for yourself in that direction. Okay. All right, so now that we have done talking about this, also if you guys want to visit it, it's greatlearning.in/academy. Okay, now let us come back. Okay, right. So let me just pick up my chat, make sure that you guys are watching and I'm not talking to, no one over here. You'll be surprised how many times that has happened. Hmm. Just hold on a second, guys. Doesn't seem to be loading. Let me try and open it up. Hmm. That is strange for sure. Give me a moment, guys. I'll just get it as fast as I can. Because this isn't really a session if I'm just talking at you. There's really not a lot of point, because yeah, you'll understand a lot of stuff, but I just want to talk to you guys. That's my whole aim over here. All right, we have it open. Okay. Yes, you guys can see me and you guys can hear me. Sorry for the delay. Let us begin this session. All right. Since I've, taken 5 minutes of your time for waiting, I will give you guys extra 5 minutes for asking questions about anything you guys want. Okay. It doesn't have to be related to designing an app itself. Okay. So, guys, let us begin to understand how you can go ahead and design an app for yourself. So why do you want to design an app? That's a question you need to ask yourself, right? So go ahead and tell me, what is the purpose of designing your own app, or what is the purpose of having your own app, right? Okay, if you guys have any ideas, since I'm taking a guess that if you're watching this live session, that means that you guys want to know or understand how you can take your idea and push it to the public or push it to the crowd, right? You want to design it really well. That's why you're watching this session. So tell me in the chat, what is your idea? Or if you don't have that kind of idea, tell me it's a passion of yours that you want to pursue, right? This is how we're going to do it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the ideas that you guys have and try to come up with design solutions to them, right? This is how we will do it. And while we do it, we will understand all the processes that are involved in designing your own app. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for your answer, and till you guys give me an answer, I'm gonna go ahead and shut that window so that we don't hear all the kids playing, underneath. I should have done that in the start. Yeah, hopefully it's just my voice now and nothing else. Okay, so we have a lot of people here. Let me just go through the names of people who have come up, call out the roster. We have Bhavam. Hi, Bhavam. Good to see you. We have Diksha Arora. Hi, Diksha. Hi, Prasad. Hi, Pro Akhu Gamer. Hi, Deep. Hi, Saloni. Hi, Sifat. And hi, Balaji. So we have a lot of people in this session today. Okay. So let's see what ideas you guys have. Now, I'm not seeing any answers in the comments, so I'm kind of disappointed. Or maybe YouTube is not giving me your answers. Let me just refresh this because this session is supposed to be interactive. You guys should tell me some ideas because the ideas will come from you and I will help you, develop design solutions to those ideas. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point. So, Prasad, hi, Prasad. What kind of idea do you have and how do we go ahead designing it? So if you guys don't have an idea, that is fine also. I'll pick a random one and I'll just go through the process. All right, since you till you guys give me the ideas, let me just show you what we will do. So basically, I was gonna do all that, ad hoc, take your idea, discuss about the idea, then move on to get solutions to that. But since I'm not getting a lot of answers, that is fine. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you what the default thing I had in mind. So first we're going to discuss UI and UX, the processes behind it, and then we'll try to use Adobe XD. So don't worry guys, today will be a very practical session where I'm going to take an idea and I'm going to show you how you can, design upon that idea. Okay. So that's why we'll have to understand what a UX process behind it is, what is the UI process, and what kind of how you can start implementing it. Okay, finally, we're starting to get ideas from the crowd. All right, so we have Briji Modi saying, sports, social media. All right, that's a good idea. Sports, social media. And we have Saloni saying educational app. Okay, fine. I like that idea too. It's an educational app. Okay, we have Bhavam saying songs app. Okay, so give me a slight example of your idea if there is a competitor also. So with educational app, you can say that, Great Learning has an education app and maybe we can compare it to that app, right? Or maybe we can take songs app, we can compare it to Spotify or Apple Music, right? We have an e-commerce app idea from Divyanshu. E-commerce, yeah, like a shopping website, right? Is that what you mean? But like Amazon or Flipkart? A general knowledge app. Okay. And we have a trading app. Well, trading is not something I know a lot, but it's a nice idea. So Sheikh is saying there's a trading app. Diksha is saying a general knowledge app. That is again a good idea. I mean, generally you don't see general knowledge idea apps there, but now we get the general ideas from our social media platforms anyways. We get it from Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, wherever you get your things from. A chat app, all exam book app from Deep. SD lovers saying chat app. We have Sandeep saying app making is without coding. Is it possible or not? Well, Sandeep, for you to make an app, you do need coding. I'm pretty sure there are toolkits available for you to create apps without coding, but it's generally recommended you code and all. But today we're going to learn how to design an app, right? Because that is an important part too. All right, so we got a lot of app ideas finally from the crowd. It's like we have a Furgy app. Okay, what do you mean by Furgy app, Sachin? We have video editing app. Bhavam, again, good idea. UI UX for trading app. Okay, so why are we discussing UI UX and why are we talking about design at all? Why is it so important? The whole coding is that's what everyone talks about, right? Coding is the biggest thing, and why is people not coding and all? The reality is, guys, that this is a very underappreciated niche. Designing is very important for any process, not just apps. Take websites, take any product. The first phase is planning, and the second phase is one of the most important phases that people generally overlook, and that's the designing phase. You plan things out and then you start designing it, right? To design certain things, you need certain ideals, you need to understand the crowd demographic you're acting at, you need to know the processes that you want to implement. So that's what we're going to learn today, and we're going to realize the importance of it all. Okay. So since we're getting a lot of questions and ideas, so let's answer Deep Patel's question. What is UI UX and what does it have to do with designing, right? So when you're talking about designing, it is talking about, let's take the definition of designing itself. When you are talking about designing, you're talking about creating something through a plan, right? Let me actually go ahead and search the definition of designing. Right. So we have the verb, okay, to plan or to make a drawing or something that will be made. So it is kind of part of the planning phase. If you don't plan a house, you cannot just take bricks and mortar and cement and start building it, because you will go nowhere. You'll just make something, like a Frankenstein house, because you did not plan it in the start. And it's wrong to even talk about Frankenstein, because the person who made Frankenstein, yeah, the person who made the monster, right, even he had a plan in mind, right? So planning and designing is very important, and it is a very underappreciated field out there, especially in India. Now, I know there are a lot of countries and people watching from different countries, but I'm taking India as an example, and you may find that your country is similar to that, where designing is often underlooked and people start talking about coding and all. If you guys have heard of White Hat Junior, they always say that your son is going to become an entrepreneur and he's going to start coding and then he's going to do all of that. That's all fine, but you have to understand that even for any kind of app, let's take a very good example. Let's go to apple.com, right? Now, you guys know how good Apple is, and I've given this example again and again and again, that Apple is designed foremost, then they come down to the other things, right? Even if you look at their website, they have designed it in a very thought out manner where they want you to look at certain things. So if I look at this website, what is the first thing that I see? All right. It is loading properly. Yeah, so it's loaded properly. So what is the first thing we see? We see that iPhone 12 is the first thing we see because it's in bold letter. So the typography is given importance over here, and the placing of it all. They know what happens when the user visits their website. If you guys take up your laptops and visit this website, this is what you guys are going to see. You're going to see iPhone 12, blast from them pass, blast pass fast, and a little bit of their iPhone, right? And you can even see that how it's cut off over here, and that's exactly how you're going to see it. So it all matters because that's the first impression you get. So here, when we're talking about design, how does it relate to planning of it all, right? So when we are designing our app, we're going to show the layout of everything, right? How everything is going to be placed. We have everything thought out. So that is the designing phase. When people have to implement it, that's when they start to bring in coding. So it's very intermixed over here. A coder will not decide where to include what items, because that's not his job. His job is to implement ideas that already exist. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to discuss how UI UX play into this. So UI is called user interface and UX is user experience. So user experience is the bigger part of this and UI is a part of UI UX, right? Now, again, the whole definition of it is that UX in basic is about designing an experience for the users. So if you come back to the Apple website, here you see what I told you guys about the iPhone 12 thing. It's the experience, it's the impression you're getting. When you visit the website, this is what you're going to see, the first thing, right? And when you scroll down, then you're going to see iPhone 12 Pro, it's a leap year, then there are links over here. So everything is very well thought out and they've thought it out thinking about the user experience in mind. What will the user want and what do we want the user to do? It is a managed experience. If I come back to our great learning website over here, the first thing you guys see is Virat Kohli, and you guys see that learn the most in-demand skill for free, power ahead in your career, and select a course. So this is what we want you guys to do. We want you to select a course that will help yourself for completely free. Similarly with Apple also, they want you to see that iPhone 12 is there and how you can buy it, because they know people who like Apple want to buy their products. So this is how they do it. So user experience is basically creating a very managed experience for a user so that they're very comfortable using a specific product and so that they're able to you know uh, uh, they're able to do what they want to do and what we want them to do, right? And UI is a part of UX. So what is UI? UI is basically about guiding and appeasing the user visually. So since user experience is about how you make the user feel, the looks of anything are something that make a user feel. If you look at an iPhone, it looks visually very appealing. So that is the user interface of it, the colors. So the colors, the placing of it. So that is a part of your UI. So every UX will have some UI within it, right? So I hope that is clear. Then what is the difference between UX and UI? In UX, you can even talk about how you are placing all of these things. Like why does this go white? And why is only this highlighted, right? So this is a part of user experience. Now the color of it, the background, where it is placed, sorry, not where it is placed, the color of it, the font that is being used, that is a part of user interface. So just take it in this way. User experience or UX is about the experience the user gets, and UI is the user interface within that experience. So how good does it look basically with user interface? So that is the difference. And remember that UI and UX always go hand in hand. You will be, using both of them. All right, so let's discuss UX. So when we're talking about UX, you get a lot of different ideas, right? So you have questions like who is that for? What is the product? What is the demographic? So to understand this UX process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an example from the chat that you guys have given me and start applying these questions, right? So let me just take this back and we'll start answering questions for each of these questions for certain examples, right? So I'm just going to go back up and we're going to take the first example, that is sports social media, right? So sports social media, who is this app going to be for? So this app, that is the first question you have to answer. Who is this app going to be for? Sports social media is a very niche thing, right? Not everyone is interested in sports. Not everyone has time to spend, time. Basically, not everyone has time to spend, on that app or just discussing sports. They just like it, but they never really got into it. So you have a very dedicated crowd who would use your app, a social media platform for sports. So you have football, you have cricket, you have rugby, you have hockey, all of these sports, right? So I'm imagining that you're going to have for each section for every sport, right? So you have to ask the question, who is this for? You have a lot of people. So you have to think about the users over here that are going to use your app. You have sports enthusiasts, people who may be interested in getting into a sports, athletes themselves, right? They want to know what is happening, the latest news, what people are talking about them, and that kind of stuff. So let's just take these three examples, right? And move on with them. So people who like sports, want to talk about sports with other people, and people who are interested in knowing more about sports. So they come over here and basically athletes themselves. So these are the three people we take. Okay, so let's answer the next question. What is the demographic? So when we answer who is this for, and then we move on to what is the demographic, we are going into a little bit more of detail. Like there are sports enthusiasts, right, who already like sports and want to talk more about it. So you dive deeper into that user group and you start dividing them. Which country are they from? What are their likes? What is their age group? Are these people from age 25 to 30 or age 18 to 25? And what is their ethnicity? What is the culture? All of those things are decided in what is this demographic. So let's assume we are taking a specific demographic. That is the age of people between 18 and 25. So this is the demographic we are aiming for. Or let's make it a little bit smaller, because 18 to 25 is a lot of people who are maybe working also. Let's take it from 14 to 22. So the demographic for us is age 14 to 22. So this is the type of people within that. Then we ask, what is the business about? So are you making an app actually for business purpose or not? Is it going to be free? Are you going to expend resources to make an app that is completely free or not? So then you have to decide what is the business process. If you already have a business that is running, then you can implement that business ideals into your user research process. So, what is the business about? The business is about giving ads, because that's how a lot of app makers make money. You put out ads or you have subscription fees for special things. So, these are the various ways you can do it. So, let me take an example. Reddit is a very good platform, social media platform, where you actually have sports enthusiasts talking about sports. So if you guys go to Reddit slash cricket, you'll find a lot of people who are really interested in cricket and start talking about cricket, going to the meta of the whole thing. How did Virat Kohli play, or how did let's take an example. Let's take Shane Warne, but he's a very old player. Let's say Joe Root. He played really well recently, right? So they start talking about these people because they are enthusiasts and they want to talk more about it. They want to go into detail because that's what they enjoy. And let's say that these people lie between the age group of 14 to 20. But then with cricket, that demographic changes, right? Because you have a lot of older people who are into cricket. That is not me being ageist or something. That is just how the scene is, right? A lot of younger people are into football and a lot of older people are into cricket. That's totally fine. But my point being, this is how you decide the demographic and everything. And there on Reddit, they have ads also. They have ads, so they make money from those ads. And they have special things called Reddit awards, where if a person has done something really awesome, like made a really good analysis of cricket or made a very funny joke, then other people can reward him with awards. And to buy those awards is to get those awards, you have to buy them, right? So this is how the Reddit platform makes money. So similarly, you have to think what your business is about and how you're going to be making money, and what is the end goal of it all. So what is the product and service? So from business you move on to the product, we talk about your app and how it's going to make us money. So it's kind of similar ballpark. Then we talk about who do we compete against. So there can be a lot of other people. So if our app is about sports social media, then our competitors can be Reddit, Instagram, and all of those people, because it's important to do a competitor analysis. And I'll tell you something, you will hear this a lot, and this is very important. You have to know what your competitor is doing. You're never gonna reinvent the wheel from start. You're not gonna start from scratch unless you want to very like a lot. You will have to look at what the competitors are doing, understand why they're doing something, and implement similar processes within your own product or service. So if Reddit has threads where people are talking to each other, if they have a advertising platform, and if they are making people buy awards, you have to look at why they're doing that, and you may want to implement that within your own platform or app. Then you have to talk about how do users behave using our product and service. So you have to do testing over here. So this goes into the later part of the user experience process where you have to focus test your app product or application with a lot of different people. So you check how they behave when they're using the application or not. You see what they tell you, what is the feedback they give you versus what do you really see when they're actually using it, right? Sometimes what people want versus what people need can differ a lot. Similarly, you have questions like what kind of impact do we want to make? This lies again in the business part of it, and whether we want it to affect us or whether we want it to affect generally people also. And then how does the business process work, which again goes into the whole pipelining of your business and how you're going to implement it. So let's say that you want your user to have a certain experience because it benefits your business, then you have to design that experience. But let me tell you one thing, guys, that user experience is also about the user. So there are a lot of moral obligations that you have to keep in mind. You cannot be just fooling the user. You have to make sure that your business needs do not cross the line. They do not cross to the other side where you're creating very bad things. We call those dark patterns in user experience process where you are forcing the user to do something that he may not like or he may get addicted to, but it's not good for him, right? So you need to keep that in mind also. It is about the user and how well the kind of experience they're getting. Again, it's also about the business also, but you have to have that fine line. You need to maintain that, all right? All right. So before I go into the user process, I want to see what you guys are saying, right? Yeah, social media app, yeah, freshest job app. So, Indeed, like sports social media compromise a section where people can watch live scores with group. People can most interesting stats and memes such as WhatsApp, calculator app providing stuff on rent instead of buying. That's a good idea. Um, so that is like Rento Mojo and Furlenco. That's what they do. So Deep Patel is still confused between UI UX. Okay, this is 415, so this is long back. Which language do we use to design an app? Okay, okay. Which language we use? Games interactive app. Okay, we are getting a lot of ideas, and this is kind of old. All right, fine. All right. So, guys, now I'm going to speed this up a little bit because you've understood a lot about user. And now I really want to get into the designing aspect of it. So, I'll tell you guys how the user process really happens. So, the first thing you do is research work. Now, whatever we discussed, all those questions that we answered, right? So, these questions that we answered are a part of our user research. Now, user research does not only include this, there is a lot of other things that you have to do also, like user testing is a part of it, and this user survey where you go and see how users are doing on other people's apps and you go ask them questions about certain things. So this is how you do it. In user research, you create personas, you create people who you think might use your app. These are fake people, these aren't real people, but you have to imagine, you have to step into the shoes. UX is about empathy. You have to understand how the other person is feeling, right? So let's say that we discussed already who is this for. So we talked about the sports enthusiast from the ages of 14 to age of 22. So this can be a school kid, or this can be a college kid, or this can be a working individual also. So you have to design a use case scenario where there's a user and how he's interacting. So you first identify a name for him. Let's say he's Raju, or let's say he's Ram, that is me, or let's say he's Bhavam. So that can be the person, and you start designing a story for them. You imagine a story. So as a user experience designer, you will kind of be like a storyteller also, where you're thinking about what this person really thinks about, right? So let's say Bhavan really likes sports, and Bhavan is a person who goes to this particular college. He goes to Shivam Rajam College, and he studies, computer science technology, computer science. That's his course. He's doing BTech in CSE, and he really loves football, and he really loves cricket also. But his parents didn't let him, play all those sports. So what he does is, he talks to his friends about these things, and he keeps up with all of the latest news about sports. So this is an example of a user, but we have to also form a problem statement around that user. So what does this user really want? This user wants to talk about sports. He's really interested in that. So that is going to be a problem statement. That the user wants to talk about sports because he loves sports. He's in his college football team also, but he doesn't get a lot of opportunities to do so. So that's why we're creating the social media app, right? So this way you create multiple personas and you form outlines around them. You think how they will behave. You try to speculate how they will behave, right? So this is the part of your user research. Then comes wireframing. So wireframing is the process of actually creating the app. Now, I saw a lot of questions asking what language do we use to design an app? So, dude, that's wrong thinking. I mean, let's forget about coding. Coding is not everything. It is important part, but it's not everything. So when you want to design your app, you have to wireframe. So you have to use a notebook or notebook and pen. So what you do is you take out your notebook, you take your pen, and you start doing a rough sketch. It's like making movies. When you're making movies, the director doesn't just take the camera and start shooting some actor, sitting in the toilet or just moving around, right? That's not how you do it. You first storyboard it, where you plan out how each and every scene is going to be. Every successful getting from this image, you're getting what the basic layout of your website is going to be like, or the basic layout of your app, right? All right. So this is how you wireframe. First step is you do a small, very quick wireframe on your notebook. And you have to do it very fast. You cannot spend more than 5 minutes making a one wireframe. You have to spend a lot of time doing this. No, you have to do it very fast. And then you come up with different kinds of wireframes because you have a problem statement that you want to create a social media platform. So to resolve that problem statement, you come up with multiple different ideas. You come up with design one, you come up with design two, you come up with design three. All these three designs will be tested to see which one is the best. So this is how you go ahead with it, right? Let me come back. So that is the wireframing process. We'll learn how to do it on laptop also. On laptop, you can do it using tools like Figma, Sketch, and Adobe XD. Basically, a lot of different kind of tools that are available, right? The next step is basically understanding the revision request. So this is what happens. You create a wireframe and then you give it to your lead or you give it to your stakeholders and you ask them what they think about it. So there you get a lot of feedback. You get a lot of revision requests. So you take them and you implement it in your next wireframe. So in the next cycle of wireframe. And that's when you go ahead for making prototypes. So what are prototypes? Prototypes are like your any app. So prototypes are basically a higher model of your wireframe. In wireframe, you're just drawing lines, whereas in prototypes, you're adding icons and everything. So basically, you're adding all of these designs and everything in prototype. You're adding the images, you're adding colors to it, you're adding the typography. So all of those things you're adding in prototyping. And once you create certain prototypes for those three designs, what you created wireframe, you create prototypes for those three things also. Then you move on to understand the revision request over here also, because then you send your prototypes to the stakeholder and to your seniors. They will look at it, they'll give you feedback. You take those feedback ideas and you basically start implementing it, right? And that's when you come up with your final prototype. Once you come up with final prototype, that's when you test. And testing is a very, very important part of user experience process as well as designing your app, where you have to design your app very well. So you have to understand how a user will behave to it. So you test it out. In everything you have testing. In software testing, you have a tester going through all the unit testers, acceptance testing, and all those things. Even in designing process, you have user, and the user you have a group of users, multiple different users on different demographics. So let's say that in your research work, you came up with a lot of different demographics, like those three demographics we talked about. A sports enthusiasts, people who are looking to get into sports, and athletes themselves. So you get all of these three different demographics, test your final prototype. Once they test it, you get a lot of results. You get a lot of data. You look at how they're doing it. When they're basically using their phone or whatever the laptop they're using and they're testing it, you keep on looking at how they're behaving. You look at their eye movement. You look at how they're using their, fingers, and you look at what their attitude is, the facial emotions, all of those things. With that, you get enough data to decide which one is doing the best. Maybe design 1 is the best, design 2 is the best, or design 3 is the best. And that's when you go and understand the feedback that you get, and then you apply what you learn. So this is the final part where you applying the feedback you have on your design. And once you come up with your final design, that's when you basically take that design and you give it to the developers. So after so much work and after so much of me talking, this is when it finally goes to the software developer who takes your design, looks at it, and understands the requirements. Maybe there's a motion, there's animation and all those things. And the developer then starts developing the app where he writes the code to actually make this. Now, we are basically giving him like something very flat. There's no back end to this, there's no middleware, there's no front end. To have all of those things, right, a developer has to do it. So this is the user experience process where you're creating the user experience as well as designing your app. All right. Now, your user experience process will also include a UI also. All right. So I want to give you guys an example of Netflix user testing, and then we'll move on to discuss how we can use Adobe XD. Okay. All right. Let me just open up the Netflix app. All right. So there is something called A/B testing. Now you do that in digital marketing also. If you guys are inside of digital marketing, you use this. Okay. And this is your first page that you see when you visit Netflix. Now, since I'm in India, this is what is showing me, netflix.com/in. So here itself, you can see a lot of customizations that you will not expect in other countries. So we have a lot of Indian movies over here, like Kabir Singh, Jantar Mantar, right? Sorry, Jamtara. It's not Jantar Mantar. Jamtara. You have this movie. I don't know which movie this is. You have a lot of different movies that really appeal to certain group of people. So that is us Indians. So this is what they do. They specifically target demographics. So this landing page, even though it looks very simple, it must have been tested hundreds or thousands of times with multiple different sets of users. So this is what Netflix does. It implements a form of A/B testing, right? So what is A/B testing? A/B testing is basically you defining a hypothesis, a problem that you have. That is, the problem is that the users are coming on to my landing page. How do I increase their retention? How do I make the users register for my platform? That is the whole idea. That is the KPI. So I have to start doing experiments. That is the testing part of it. So what you do is you come up with multiple variations. So you go through the whole process of the user experience process where you come till the understanding the revision requests before testing. So you create those 3 designs, right? And once you create those 3 designs, you have a control experiment with it. What is the control experiment and what are these designs? So these designs are the new designs you've come up with, and the control experiment is something that already exists. So this may be the landing site, a website that already existed, and you have new designs that are going to battle each other. Now you start testing. So the users basically start looking at it and they start seeing what they start giving you feedback. And based on the feedback, you choose a winner, right? So what happened with Netflix was they did this exactly the same thing. They took a control experiment, they had multiple variations, and they started to experiment. So they had first group of users coming in, and those users basically tested their multiple variations. They got a feedback result. Then they did this multiple times. They did this again and again and again, maybe like 5 times, and they finally came up with a lot of winners because you have 5 rounds. In each round, someone is winning. So what they realized was that the control experiment they had from the start, that is your Netflix app itself, was the one that was winning, right? So they just decided to keep it. That's how your user testing can go, that you can test sometimes very rigorously, but in the end you come up with the same thing. But again, this is not very, this is something for future, regarding future releases for you. This may not be something that you have to do when you're designing your app in the starting itself, where you have a control experiment or not. Okay. All right, so there are multiple tools you guys can use, right? So there are multiple tools. You guys can use XD, Figma, Sketch, Photoshop, InVision, Canva. You have a lot of tools available to you. The one we'll be using today is XD. Okay, so let's move on to XD. Now, the reason we're using XD is because XD is completely free. as of now, and it's very easy to use, and it's available for Windows 10 only. So if you have something below Windows 10, you will not be able to use it. Then I would recommend you guys go ahead and use Figma. Okay, Figma is pretty cool tool also. Let me open this up. All right. Before we move on to talk about XD, let me just show you how you guys can download it. Just go to Google, type in Adobe XD, and you'll see the first ad, Adobe XD free. Now, there is something that you guys have to realize. Why are they giving it for free, right? So they have a business process in mind that they want to do, and that's why they're giving it for free. So you can start for free or explore plans. They have a paid version of certain things over here. So you can basically get it for free. You will download. I'll cancel it because I already have it. This is how you install Adobe XD, okay? I would recommend if you guys are designing an app or designing anything, right? Because you have a lot of options now. In the new XD versions, you can even design Instagram stories, Instagram post, Twitter header, Facebook post cover, YouTube video thumbnail. You want to do that, you can do that also. Okay. So they have multiple options, and this is all about the user experience. It's still a growing tool, but don't worry, it's got most of the things you'll need. If you're working with Mac, I would recommend Sketch. Sketch is one of the most widely used tools. Other than that, you have XD. All right, so let me just bring up the chat, see what you guys have to say, then we'll move on. All right, so we have SK Logic asking, sir, what is the difference between research work and wireframing? So in research work, you're doing theoretical work. What you will be using mostly is going to be a notepad. You're going to write my demographic, this, then you're going to do a survey results. In the survey, you ask people questions based on your website, like will they actually want to use this website or not? So you do that. So it's a lot of business process also is involved. You put your hypothesis, right? So this is you developed user stories, fake user stories. These aren't real. So you develop user stories, you speculate what will, how they will react, and speculation, and you do multiple things. So this is basically rough work, and you do competitor analysis. So you look at what your competitor is doing, you analyze that. So all that is part of your user research work. Wireframing is actually creating wireframes. Let me show you an example. So I'll show you guys example from my previous live session that I did. And don't worry, we'll be creating our own, so that you will understand what a wireframe is. In which framework can we design an app? So Sandeep, I hope I answered your question. How can I improve my programming in this platform? I cannot answer that. Improve programming in this platform. You have to see what is trending, and you have to go and, look at what the designers are implementing these days and see how you can implement those ideas. So this is a wireframe. It's a very simple thing. I hope the colors, I mean, the lines are visible for you guys. So you guys can basically see that this is the navigation bar. This is one single line. This is the bottom bar. We have, three movable dots. So once you move, slide something, it moves on from this dot to that dot. So we have images. So this is what a wireframe looks like, right? They're basically lines. So your you have low fidelity wireframes, you have high fidelity wireframes. High fidelity wireframes basically means you add a lot more stuff. You add icons and everything, okay? Yeah, so you have to do data analysis also. That's right. So you Netflix is a platform that already has a lot of data to observe, right? They have like billions of users now, right? Maybe not billions, but millions of users. So they have that data to look at also. Sorry, forgot to say that. All right. So it's good you guys are talking between each other. That's always helpful because sometimes I will be lost in explaining something to you guys and miss out on a lot of conversations. That's fine. This is something for us to chat with each other and chat in between yourself also. Okay, so let me just go to home and I'll explain the whole process to you guys. Okay, all right. Let me just stretch my legs out a little bit. Ah, let's take a 2-second break and then I'll start explaining what Adobe XD does. Okay, all right. 2 seconds over, back to our process. All right, guys. Okay, so now this is what your dashboard would look like for Adobe XD, right? When you open Adobe XD, this is what it's going to look like. You have multiple options to open boards, and I'll explain what these boards are. So you can see if you want to open iPhone X, XS, Web 1920, this is for websites, Instagram stories, and custom. And I showed you guys for a website right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up, or let's say a part of user research process is also seeing what is the most popular thing, right? So user historical data, right? So you have to see what users have actually liked historically. So let's say in the year of 2021, what is the most visited app size? So let's actually look that up. So this is going to be a part of our research. So don't worry, this is don't think of it as a cheating or something. This is how you really do user research process. And there is a lot of other ways also involved. But since we are doing like a Jugadu research work right now, so this is all we will be doing. Most used app resolution 2020. Let's see what 2020. So we are getting 1920 into 1080. This is for websites. So a lot of other people have stats. So if you already work for a company and if you already have an app and you're just improving upon that app, so in that way you can see what your major out of 100% of user base, what is the maximum amount of users using? Are they using iPhone X, that is 375 into 1812, or are they using, Google Pixel 393 into 851? So you decide what is the most popular one and you basically use that. So we can see that most 50% are using mobile, we have desktop, but so this is also something you look at. Where are the people coming from? Are they coming from mobile, desktop, tablet? What should you develop? Should you develop a website or should you develop an app? You can develop both also. See, this is where they're giving a lot of information. They're even talking about age and gender, but we don't want to see this. We want to see what is the most used app resolution. And what is the result they've come up with? Okay, this is a good website. So it's giving us stats over here basically. Right. So this is 316 to 640. So 316 to 640 has been increasing, where it was increasing, but it started to decrease the number of people using it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the second best, and that is 411 into 896, 414. Okay, but this is on a reducing trend and this is on a okay trend. It has increased in before. So let's just take 14 into 414 into 896. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention all right, 414, and this is going to be 896. And then I'm going to select my custom size. All right, so it's loading. Give me a few seconds, guys. Once it loads up, then I'll explain to you what these things are. All right. So the first thing we see a white canvas over here. So this is called an artboard. An artboard is basically where you give you all your designs. Okay, so let me just go ahead and rename this artboard to home page. All right, and that is fine, home page. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the artboard, come to the right hand side, and we're going to give this a grid. So I'm just going to select grid. We're going to choose layout type grid, and you guys can see a grid has appeared. Now, what this grid is used for is basically giving you a spatial idea of things. And this is good for snapping. So let's say if you wanted to create a box over here, maybe for navigation bar, so it easily snaps over here, and we can scroll in. So you can use the mouse scroll thing to use to scroll, sorry, control scroll. So this is for controlling. Or if you have a laptop, then you just expand like how you normally expand. Okay. All right. So this is what our box looks like. So it's a part of our wireframe. So we're going to use the selector. We're going to select this. We're going to copy and paste it so that, we can have a bottom bar also. You don't necessarily need to do this, but I'm showing you. All right. So now I have a bottom bar also. Generally, in apps and all, you won't use a bottom bar, but this is what we are using. Okay. So phones have become a lot larger these days. So you guys can see this is what you will look at if you open a phone. So let me just show you the prototype of it. So basically, this is what it's going to look like on a phone, right? Okay. Now, so this is basic stuff like where you just drew lines. And let's say that we want to do the sports social media platform, right? So I'm going to design a wireframe for our sports social media platform. So I'm going to keep this as my navigation bar. Then I'll show you guys an easier method to do this also. Then I'm going to include a box over here. So this box will have a really awesome looking icon. And I'm going to give two options over here. And we're going to change this from home page to login page. Okay. And since this is a big page, let me go ahead and include this login. I'm going to copy this. All right, I'm going to copy this, paste this, and paste it over here. All right, and we're going to shift this icon down, increase the size. So this isn't a real icon, but this is to simulate that we have an icon. Okay. All right. Now, if you move this, you can see that a lot of these pink lines are coming and they're telling you what these, where the placement of your square or something should be. So you can see it's written over here 186 pixels. So the length over here will be decided in pixels. So you have 186 pixels above your icon and 392 pixels below your icon. So you can decide where you want your icon to be. So let's say that we want it to be here and we want these two things. So you shift and select them and you pull them down. All right. So this is going to be a basic framework. Okay. So this is a login page where we have something over here and something over here. So let's just remove those. The menu bar is not needed. All right. So this is what our login page would look like. We have a big icon that gives you sports info. Let's go ahead and mention something. App logo. We're going to go ahead and increase the size of it. So you come on the right hand side from 20, we are going to make this 50. Yeah. Or we can change this to 70. Okay. 70. Then I'm going to make it into middle. And I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to use the selector over here. This is used to select things and make sure it's in the middle. So 65, 65, 44, 43. Yeah, that's fine. If you want, we can put this is in the center. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to basically give this thing Google login. Okay. Selector. We're going to reduce the size of this. We're going to make this 20. Okay. We're going to bring the bar up. All right, we're gonna bring this bar down and we're gonna take this, copy, paste it. Gonna bring this down and I'm gonna change this to Facebook login. All right, just gonna scroll in fast. All right, I'm gonna make this into middle. All right, so this is a very, very simple wireframe. If I just, once again, you can also just copy paste. We can put copyright information over here. Yeah, this is how your websites have it. Okay. So this is what a basic website looks like, basic app looks like, right? So you have the app logo, you have the Google login, and you have the Facebook login, and you have some copyright information. So again, we made a very basic wireframe that I was able to make right now in like few seconds. So this is how you would go ahead. You know, you'll create a very basic wireframe, then you come up with a better iteration of it. Now I'll show you guys how to make a better iteration of it also. This is, you know, just me going and doing it on my own accord. Let me show you one more thing. All the buttons over here. So this is for creating squares. This is for creating circles, triangles. You want to create lines. You want to draw something. You have the T for lettering, and then you have to create new artboards. So if you want to create a new artboard, you just take this and select it, and you create 3 new artboards. Okay. So let's say that this is the Facebook or this is the Google login page. Yeah. So what we can do is we can just cancel this out, use the selector and app logo. You can just take this over here. We can control G to group it and we can bring it down. Right. If you guys want to make it as accurate as possible, just take the height and the X and Y and put it over here. So those are the coordinates 56, 225, and this will be 226. Okay. Right? So then we just do some boxes where you put in the information. Right? Right, so you just login form and all that. And you can even go to prototyping and from this box, I can select this page. So if I select this box, then I get this page. So if I just go over here, right, if I start the prototyping and if I select Google login, you can see that how the Google login thing has appeared, right? So this can be instead of login, email, and come to design. Just copy it, paste it. And you can go ahead and put password, right? Now if you do this, you can see a very basic, select the artboard and then press prototype. Okay, Google login, you put email and password. All right. So this prototyping is basically to show you how your app would look like, right? If you actually developed it. So it's a very good tool that really gets you in the mindset of the place. All right. So let us do one more thing. Let me show you. If you select the menu bar over here, you can start using UI kits. So just click on get UI kits and click on material design or click on Apple iOS, or if you're just doing wireframes, just click on wireframes. So instead of drawing your own wireframes from scratch and everything, what you can do is just take the wireframe toolkit that is available to you and start implementing uh, the things that are available over there. So we can just click on download toolkit and it will download the toolkit for us. I already have the toolkit. Let me just open that toolkit up. Right, so this is the wireframe toolkit. Let me open this up quickly and have the latest one. Go to updated wireframes 2021, click on mobile, not app, sorry, not website. We'll click on the mobile one, double click it. I wish we had more hours so that I can just take that example and draw it completely. So it'll just take time to load. Till then, I'll just look at the chat. 3D UI trends, right? So there is this new UI trend. It's not new, it's like a year old now, that you have buttons raised up where all the elements look a lot more 3D-ish. I forgot the name of it, but it is a UI trend that is being used a lot, where all the buttons look a little bit raised. It's a very unique look. I think it looks good, but it doesn't look good everywhere. Sometimes simple designs, just make it. So this is what your wireframe elements, this is basically where you can just take all the elements directly. So if you want, just look at the sign up page and we can just copy the sign up page from here. Just select all the elements, click on copy, come back, and maybe let's create a new artboard for this, right? Go to selector, then paste it. Yeah. So again, instead of, just rename this from Adobe to Google login, right? So now we have everything that we want. Right? So it'll look like this. So this is how you can use the UI kits to make it a lot more easier, right? So you can just use the sign up over here and you can, use the full name. I mean, you have a lot of different variations of sign up that you want to implement. So this way you can create those wireframes very fast, introduce an idea and, just build up upon it. If you want, you don't have to use these ideas themselves. You can do it from scratch also. But when you are in a hurry, or let's say that you have a lot of wireframes to work on, not just one app, then you use these kind of things to create the very basic fundamentals of it. And no one's going to tell you that, oh, you cheated or something, because in the end, whole designing process is about, if you are a product designer or something, it is about making sure that you're delivering a polished output to your users. Obviously, don't really make it similar to someone else's application, but it is a lot more difficult to copy in this designing process, because philosophies and ideas that are used in different places are not trademarked. You can use those for yourselves. If you really like what Apple is doing with their website, then it is not a problem that basically copy their, or emulate. Copy is a bad word. Like if you want to emulate their design philosophy, then you can do it, right? Obviously you have to add your own elements, and you may, if you are a phone seller, then don't copy this, because they can sue you if they see that you're doing the same exact thing. But if you just take the philosophy, right, if you take the idea of what they're doing, the whole idea of extrapolating the iPhone 12 thing, you can do it for your specific product, right? So this is how it works. I hope it helped you guys out get a better idea. So for today, guys, we have crossed our time. So that's all we're going to do. Let's do a small Q&A and end the session. All right. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat and then we'll answer them. And then, we'll go back and do what we were doing before the live session started. All right. So I'm just going to wait for a few seconds. Oh. So let's see if the chat is coming up or not. SK Logic is saying, thank you, sir. Well, thanks to you for listening. I hope I gave you guys some idea of what you need to know when you're designing your app. There's a lot of processes, and this material will be available, so you guys can go ahead and download it from the link that the chat moderator is giving you, and that way you guys can go through the slide deck and see all the things there are, and just try to form it. So as a homework, I want you guys to take one of the ideas, pick one of the ideas that these people have given, that you guys have given, and try to make it into something. So this is how you will start, right? You will start with theory and you'll make it into a wireframe, you'll make it into a prototype. This is how you learn UX. You learn it through practice. That's all I can say. This is almost true with everything, but even with UX, you learn it through practice. Okay, Noman Ahmed. Let me say your name properly. I hope I pronounced that. Noman Ahmed. Nagarju is saying hi. Hi. We have, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. We have Kagaliso Neo Nazi. I'm so sorry I was not able to pronounce it. Thank you for the insights. Very informative. I am so happy that you enjoyed it, that this was able to give you a lot of information, right? And seriously, creating your own app is a daunting task, but going ahead and designing it, if you're very interested in it, then you can do it. Now, for those people who are looking jobs in UX, this is how you actually do it. To get a job, you need to create portfolios where you showcase your projects. So take any of these ideas that people have given, do all of these research work, go through the UX process of it. And okay, there's one thing that people really look for is your rough work. You need to have, not need rough work, you need to show people what your design philosophy is and what your way of thinking is. In every UX interview, this is what they're going to look for, or a designing interview. What they're going to look for is how you think, come up with an idea. What is your whole process? So when you create a portfolio, you can even create blogs where you write down what your whole process was. You did competitor analysis, you did research work, and you can showcase those things to your employee, right? Or send it with your resume. All right. Hi, Abhishek. Uh, I'm so happy you liked it, Sifat Alam. Hi, Pankaj Yadav. All right. Okay, guys, so that's it for this session. I hope you got information how to design your app. If you guys want to go into a lot more detail, please like the session. It really helps me out and really helps the channel grow and show this video to other people who really need it, because YouTube algorithm is very difficult, and to make sure everyone who needs it gets it, you need a lot of interaction. So you guys commenting really helped, and please go ahead and show me some love by liking also. I see that it's on 85 likes. That's a good amount of likes. I hope that we can bring it up to 100 also. That will really help us out. Okay. All right. My name is Ram. I really hope you guys enjoyed the design your own app session. And now I'm going to go play with my cat. See you guys in the next.